Good morning. Is it happy boy radio, not sad boy radio today? A win, a rare enough thing for the local professional football team. When is the last time, can you tell me, that the Tennessee Titans, the Tennessee Volunteers, and the Vanderbilt Commodores last won a game all in the same weekend?
Oh, Preds won Saturday?
Preds did win Saturday. Vibes are high. Morale is high. 615-737-1045 is the number if you would like to join the discussion.
That's actually a great question.
Bank chat also available at your disposal. Many people have looked up this stat and I believe tweeted it out. In fact, I think you can find it on Austin Stanley's Twitter account if I'm not mistaken. If not him, I'm pretty sure John Glennon also had it too. But it was like November of 2022 was the last time it's happened.
2019. November 23rd and 24th of 2019.
Really? So it's been that long. So
84 years.
Brandon Rushing says since Vietnam is the last time that this has happened. It certainly feels that way. You've got an emotional coach. I wouldn't quite describe it as breaking down in his post-game press conference, though he did get a bit choked up. Those two things are different. Emotions were high yesterday. It was an emotional game. It was an exhausting game. Now, here's the thing, and we'll talk about this when we get to this next segment, which is how do you feel about the Titans winning a football game? Because I imagine that many of you are of mixed emotions today, where, through 8 weeks, a lot of you were talking about draft picks, Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, Luther Burden, whichever, the right tackle from Texas, any of these mock drafts that you started doing because your team was 1-6. But you win a game and you see the visceral emotion of not just the coaching staff, but of the players, of all the support staff that work for the team. And you understand, okay, it does mean something to win, even if it is at 2-6. Now, the way that they went about this thing was exhausting. I mean, would you describe this as let's go to the polls to start the show. At Buck Rising is where you vote on the polls, and we will update them at the end of the show. Was yesterday a fun game to watch at Nissan Stadium? I'm curious to know what the early voting results are bringing back as we get ready for more voting results tomorrow.
It very split. 51.6% are saying yes.
Wow.
Listen, I'm not saying the entire game was peachy, but it was fun.
Oh, I wouldn't.
It was weird.
Hardly any of that is peachy, bud.
It was weird.
It was weird.
But it was fun. Usually in football, weird means fun. When does weird not mean fun in football?
Oh, 1-6. I mean, they've been a science experiment at 1-6.
I know. I'm talking about how a game plays out. Like, we're not digging ditches here. It was weird, and it was fun, and the Titans won a dramatic game in overtime at Nissan Stadium.
You absolutely just stole that line from Rhett Bryan, who not 10 minutes ago used that in the production room with us.
Not digging ditches? I wasn't in there when he used that, but it's a very common phrase.
Do you guys remember the COVID game where Denver didn't have a quarterback? It was Kendall Hinton who started at quarterback.
The wide receiver, yes.
That was weird and not fun.
That was weird and not fun. That's
true.
A good example.
You found one.
So here's the thing about this Titans game, because, I mean, the way that they handled, let's take it half by half, because you did score points in the second half. That's a rare enough thing. That's progress. You did find a way to move the ball on offense, even though it took you an overtime period to do what most NFL teams do on a weekly basis. That's all well and good. You got adequate protection again, despite having a rotational situation at right tackle, and also some things that we will probably, reiterate throughout the course of the show. You're down your starting center for the rest of the season at minimum.
Reportedly.
Torn Achilles is what Karski, I think, put out there yesterday. And that injury would probably also bleed into at least, at minimum, next October. Like, that's a year-long timeline for an injury. And even then, you don't know what that's going to look like when he gets back. So there are some things. You won a football game at what cost, but you needed to win this football game. The way that it played out, they take the early lead. Nick Vannett, who needs A.J. Brown, who needs Julio Jones, who needs all these other Titans wide receivers who have come and gone when you've got Nick Vannett, baby Gronk, gets you up 7-0. That was after the Patriots. The Patriots made some weird decisions yesterday. They are also a bad football team. They are also questionably coached at times. And yesterday you just outlasted them in a battle of the 2-win football teams, or a team that was striving to win its second game on the year. They did things like go for that field goal, the first field goal attempt that they had, 56 yards, kicking it into the wind. And it might have, there was a couple of different decisions that they made. Like also when they decided to go against the wind in the overtime situation after the Titans won the coin toss and took the ball. There were just a bunch of different kicking into the wind in that situation as well. There was a couple of different things that you could nitpick. But either way,
kickers are banging in 64-yarders now in the NFL. I'm not going to roast a coach.
How many kickers are banging in?
Don't
point to the Cowboys kicker and be like, see, that one did it. All of them can do it.
Tyler Bass of Buffalo hit a 61-yarder to win the game on Sunday. Will Reichard in Minnesota is doing crazy things. Like the kicking game is like the quarterback game, where the athletic ability and the things that they are capable of become more and more impressive as the years go on. I'm not going to roast a coach for rolling a kicker out there at 56 yards because there's some wind.
So, missed field goal sets up the Titans with an opportunity. They get the early lead. They take the lead into halftime, but the end of half possession was the thing that made Titans fans feel like they were not in a good mental, emotional, or physical state with how that petered out so quickly that cost them the opportunity to have points. You had the issues that we've been talking about.
That was weird and not fun.
You've got penalties. You've got questionable coaching decisions. You've got all the different things that have compiled throughout the course of the season, culminating in that one possession that leaves you without even the opportunity to kick the field goal in that spot because you started on the 35 and ended up continuing to back yourself up throughout the course of the game. Special teams did not cover itself in glory. You simply survived the Titans special teams performance yesterday. But on the whole, they chip away. They outlast the Patriots. The defense has as many turnovers in that game as the Titans collectively have had all year. They had 2 interceptions from Amani Hooker. You had a strip sack forced by Arden Key that was recovered by Jeffrey Simmons. It's probably inarguably Jeff's best performance
easily.
Of the year.
Easily.
And they were you saw the Patriots, what's the swing tackle's name that Titans fans wanted to sign in the offseason? Michael Owenu. They bumped him inside to guard. I don't know if you noticed that, but they were making lineup changes to their offensive line in real time because I heard Gerard Mayo talking in his post-game press conference about them feeling like the interior of their pocket was soft, which was a bit of a triggering word for Patriots fans and players this week. So they moved Owenu inside to guard to try and keep Jeffrey Simmons and Tavondre Sweat and Sebastian Joseph Day from being on Drake May's neck the entire time.
First time all year Titans have won turnover battle.
Look at that. See how easily it can help translate into a win, even if you falter in a couple other places. The turnover situation continues to be something to monitor, but they capitalized yesterday. And then, old reliable. He's wearing a Honda Accord shirt in the locker room afterwards.
Really?
Nick Westbrook-Ikhine.
Awesome.
He's got a shirt on that is like a throwback Honda Accord. And I have never had more respect for an individual who continues to gut it out, grind it out, continues to be the picture of an NFL success story, and who has been slighted, including by this coaching staff at every turn, until such time as they have no other choice but to get Nick Westbrook-Ikhine involved in the damn game. All he does is catch touchdowns. That's 4 straight for NWI. They outlast the Patriots in overtime. They get the overtime possession to start the overtime. They drive down the field, and they set themselves up in position for a 25-yard field goal, but only after even then making you sweat it out a little bit because Corey Levin's in at center, Mason Rudolph's in at quarterback. You have a botched snap exchange with the quarterback and the backup quarterback and the backup center, and you feel like, did you feel like they panicked a little bit after that? Like, all right, just get out there, kick the field goal. Like they didn't even let the clock bleed down the way that they could have to about 1 second on the game clock. Or the play clock, and then take the timeout because they had 2 timeouts remaining. They just set the field goal. Just kick it. Forget bleeding clock. Like they felt like they were rushed to just go out there, take the points, take the lead, and make Drake May, a rookie coming off the concussion protocol and starting in this game, drive the field to beat you. And he couldn't because he made an egregious error at the end of the game. He threw an interception, the second to Amani Hooker. Titans win 20-17 in OT.
They probably were always going to kick it there. Right. There probably wasn't going to be a decision to go for it on fourth down.
He was asked, and he said he was strongly considering it before the botched snap, and then he said, yeah, and then I didn't feel as good about it afterwards.
Yeah, and
could have given it some consideration. Did give it serious consideration.
That's important information to take into account when your backup quarterback and backup center have an exchange that nearly turns the ball over. Then that'll change things, right? From maybe we go for it here to, you know what, just go take the lead and play defense.
So on the whole, the Titans get it done. 2-6, not glamorous, right? It's stressful the whole way through. It's far from perfect, but Brian Callahan feels affirmed, essentially, in what his football team went out there and did and how they went about trying to do it. You're going to hear from Brian Callahan coming up next because the coach was emotional in his post-game press conference with us. We'll also talk about I'll ask you, as a Titans fan, how'd you feel about your football team winning yesterday? Because 2-6 is not guaranteeing you a path to the playoffs, although what did Bert say in our ear as the radio show started? The path to 11-6 begins now?
Began yesterday.
Okay, very good. Well, I mean, it's progress, right? It's progress. And all you can ask them to do is go out there and win a game, unless, of course, you wanted a better draft pick and you wanted them to lose the game. So we'll talk about how Titans fans should feel about this win coming up next. That is Mike Keith, Titans Radio on the call. Titans getting after the quarterback yesterday. Sebastian Joseph Day getting in on the action. Arden Key, Jeffrey Simmons, all involved in the party at the quarterback. They were able to disrupt the quarterback yesterday en route, in part, helping them to win in overtime 20-17. Defense did its job. Offense was able to pay it off. How did Titans fans feel today? I really don't know. We looked at the poll earlier about was yesterday at Nissan Stadium fun? And it sounds, I mean, it's not quite an even split. A slight majority, what did you say, 51 point something percent?
Said it was fun.
Said it was fun. The other half, dealing with the ups and downs, the highs and lows, the roller coaster that is the 2024 Tennessee Titans. How do you feel about the fact that they won? Because again, it's not my team to tell you how to feel as a fan. But I would imagine that the vast majority would just be happy to see their favorite team win. Yeah? Wouldn't you just assume that that's the case, no matter what the draft position is? Because, how real is draft position in week 9? We still have 9 more weeks of this to go that will determine who ends up with the number 1 overall pick. Are you really going to get that bent out of shape about your team winning in week 9 to try and, just to try and give them something to cling to, even if they end up with a high up in the draft order come year's end? Are you really getting bent out of shape because they ruined your draft pick yesterday?
I feel like rooting for a draft pick, so rooting for your team to lose, is something that should come about in the last 2 weeks of the season when it's almost set in stone and then there's just a couple spots that teams could move up or down. But right now, losing still does you more harm than good for a first-year head coach trying to, all the cliches, instill a culture, learn how to win, improve throughout the course of the year. All cliches, but all things that matter. And I firmly believe that losing this much this early does more harm than good, because the good is you get to gamble again high in the draft.
Yeah, because, you try to not take too much from one place, right? We've often said that Twitter is not the real world. It is a very emotional, reactional place, and should probably not dictate the mood or the content of the context of the radio show, right? I'm also looking at the F&M Bank chat, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, where they're currently debating which quarterback they want to take with their number 1 pick after beating a team for the first time in a month and having only your second win on the season, which I understand, but still, those people, that section of the population, seems to be very focused still on Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Garrett Nussmeier maybe. What's the conversation there? And then, I'm curious to know what the audience who can call in, 615-737-1045, has to say about it, because I don't know what the temperature is with the fan base right now, and I'm genuinely curious. I will tell you, though, that the head coach told you just how badly he needed this win, and you'll hear from him here in just a second. But from my perspective, I'll tell you how at least I processed it, and how it seems like the media corps, I'm not going to speak for everybody that sits up in the press box, but it was a lot, right? Ramondre Stevenson catches that 5-yard touchdown reception to send the game to overtime, and you're looking around thinking, oh my God.
What a play from Drake May.
Falling away as, I can't remember who had him wrapped up at the time, as he was falling down and just lofts that pass into the air. Perfect spot where Ramondre Stevenson comes down with it, and that's the score that sends it to overtime. Patriots, interestingly enough, opt to just take the take the extra point and play for overtime as opposed to going for 2 on the road. Thought that was an interesting part of Gerard Mayo's decisions yesterday, because, house money, it felt like. What do you got to lose at 2-6 were the Patriots yesterday, now 2-7, but neither here nor there.
That play by May is the second longest that a quarterback has held onto the ball and extended the play in the pocket before throwing a touchdown, second only to Jaden Daniels a week ago, scrambling around and throwing the Hail Mary against the Bears.
Right? It was crazy. It was crazy to watch, and it was one of the most improbable things that was, of course, was probable because they're playing the Titans. And if you're a Titans fan or somebody who's watched this team, especially this team this year, you're like, all right, how are they going to invent a way to lose to the Patriots today? Because they presented some opportunities that that you had circled in your notebook, or maybe you'd cataloged via Twitter or whatever, saying, all right, if they lose, this is how we got there. The path was there, and to their credit, they gutted it out in overtime. They drove the length of the field. They were physical. They were the more physical team running the football. God bless Tony Pollard. He deserves so much better than 2-6. But he and Nick Westbrook-Ikhine playing, and the defense, to their credit, playing a huge role in getting that done.
Kent on the F&M Bank chat says, I think it was a good proof of concept game for Callahan and company.
Which is exactly what we said. We talked about this on the pregame show with B-Hop, with Blaine, with Kayla, and me getting you ready for the Titans game. Like, they damn sure better win this game. You got to start showing your organization that employs you, the locker room that is looking to you for guidance, the fan base that is placing some level of trust in you, and the media who's going to cover you, that you can do this job, that you can go out there and beat a bad team when you've also experienced some struggles yourself as a coaching staff. Proof of concept matters here. And it wasn't perfect, but listen to Brian Callahan. Most coaches will open with some kind of introductory statement. He tends to be a little longer-winded, which is fine. Listen to him when he gets to the portion of this introductory or this opening press conference statement. Listen to him when he gets to Tony Pollard, and listen to him, choke up a little bit when asked just how badly he needed this win.
Running the football down there and taking up almost the entire overtime and not giving him much to work with on the back end. Tony Pollard, just to point out, 154 total yards, didn't practice once this week. He's everything. He's everything that our locker room is about. Proud of. And then finally, we won the turnover battle. We finally found a way to get our hands on 3 footballs. We only turned it over once. Unfortunately, we had a shot to get a touchdown there, and we turned that ball over. It got tipped up in the air. So a lot of really good things, plenty of things to clean up, but I'd much rather be cleaning them up, feeling good about a win than after a loss. So it was just really good to see our team fight today.
Just how badly did you guys need this today?
Look at me. I needed it bad, man. It was, we needed it.
He didn't break down, right? And it wasn't a sob fest at the podium. It wasn't John Robinson at the Combine in 2022 after the Bengals collapse. Right?
Yeah, kept it moving. Another question came in. And
did keep it moving.
It was a regular presser.
Himself and handled it. But, that's real.
Yeah. No, I don't think there's anything wrong with a glimpse of emotion at a post-game presser. That job's hard. And we've seen coaches get emotional at the podium, too. That's not an executive, too, weeks and months after the fact, sitting in a sanitized environment with you guys in Indianapolis, and suddenly here come the waterworks, and everybody's looking around like, what's going on here?
That was so weird.
Right, this is...
the J-Rob thing was so weird.
This is literally moments after a game when you're in the thick of the regular season that just has not gone right. Feels like everything has gone against you, and a lot of that is, on the Titans. But I don't think there's anything wrong with the glimpse of emotion there just a few minutes after that win.
No, but it does give you a peek into what's going on, because that to me, and I'm projecting here, but that to me is more than just, hey, we won a game and I really needed the win. They were 1-6, and they were doing some things like, think about the way that game opened, right? They win the coin toss, they take the ball. They commit a penalty.
On the opening kickoff.
On the opening kickoff return.
Yes.
With the new guy that's coming in, Justin Hardy, with an illegal formation penalty on the new guy who's coming in here to improve your special teams unit. And that's how the game starts. And you're like,
yeah.
Oh.
Now, special teams is, again, a talking point. Obviously not as bad as it was in Detroit. It's hard. That's, probably the worst special teams performance of the season in the NFL. And I know Marcus Jones is a good punt returner, a Pro Bowl caliber punt returner. But
he's one of the best in the league.
But still, you lose benefit of the doubt, right? When it's been as bad as it's been all year.
Absolutely.
You gave up a 44-yard return against Marcus Jones, 69 total yards and punt returns allowed. But Ryan Stonehouse with the hang time on one that pinned the Patriots at the 9. So there was some improvement there.
But again, let's keep it focused on Callahan. There's more going on there. It's a really, really hard job. It's a humanizing moment. We treat these things very transactionally, and I think it's a great reminder to know that the people who are tasked with trying to make this thing better can't just turn the channel and put on, the Vikings-Colts game or whatever and forget about all the bad things that their football team did that day. No, they have to grind it out and fix it, and it has been hell. It has been hell at 1-6. They have made winning and losing look impossibly hard. They have made every one of these results, even yesterday, some level of excruciating in different moments, right? And that compounds. And you have an ownership group who is looking on at this thing after investing legitimate dollars, after, breaking ground on the new stadium, after clearing house and talking about how much better the vibes are with this unit, who are running out of patience to an extent. Because at some point, you have to produce. The pressure of all that compounds, and it's a very, very small moment. It's a voice crack. It's not tears. He's not bawling at the podium, but he's emotional because there's a lot going on there that he's tasked with doing, and it's probably a hell of a lot harder of a job than he could have possibly imagined, even having his dad to kind of walk him through it, be like, hey, son, I've been an NFL head coach before. I've been a college football head coach before. I've been an offensive coordinator. This stuff is tough. It's really, really tough. Any victory in the NFL is difficult. Because what did pop into my mind was, well, just walking down from the press box to the postgame press conference, all right? He's going to be with the team for a little bit, then he's going to come out and talk to us. And we're all thinking about, all right, well, this is going to be a conversation about, all right, you did enough to win a football game. Congratulations. This matters because you just had to do something to stop the bleeding. It doesn't fix all their problems, right? Doesn't fix the Will Levis factor that's about to be dropped into the middle of all this again, that you have no idea what that's going to look like whenever it comes time to make that decision. You have the special team stuff that we're talking about, like beating the Patriots yesterday does not cure all of their ills. So we're walking into that press conference with that mindset, essentially.
Yeah, they're 2-6.
Sure.
Yeah.
But that's not like he kind of brought us into a different spot with the way that he started that press conference. Because he walks in there, what you don't hear in that clip is him looking around at us. And, I like, naive feels a bit harsh, but he's looking around at us and being like, it's like a Morgan here. I'm excited. I don't know about you guys. Maybe not necessarily understanding or not recognizing in the moment, like that's the media, the press conference. They're not there to cheer you on and all these different things. Like, we're here to ask you questions about how you went about doing it, how you're going to sustain it, how you're going to start to build. Like, legitimately, if you're going to try and turn this thing around, and I don't mean like playoff run or anything like that, but just make it look like not a laughing stock on a week-by-week basis. So he comes into the press conference with that energy, and then he's starting to work his way through all the things that you just heard there. He gets to the Tony Pollard thing, he cracks up, and you're like, oh, this is a little different than the way that we're processing this, a little more coldly, right? Without the emotional attachment. And that's the way that fans can treat it too, because when you're 1-6, you start to lose a lot of the emotion that is attached to your football game's results on a weekly or football team's results on a weekly basis.
It kind of perfectly encapsulated that disconnect that we talk about so much, about fans that believe losing is the best thing overall for the franchise and what's actually happening in the building. Because it wasn't just Callahan, it was Big Jeff. It just looks like there's a weight lifted in the locker room.
Well, think about Jeff. Jeff has not been a part of a win for the Tennessee Titans since when? He played 12 games last year. He wasn't out there for the Dolphins game.
He wasn't there.
So, Jeff is running into the tunnel after the fact at 2-6, screaming, finally, finally. Like, Jeff Simmons has not been a part of a win on the field since what? Yeah. Last November?
It's why I consider it wasted energy this early in the season to actually be rooting for your team to lose in early November. When you look at the direction that everybody in the building is taking it, where it is emotion, it is like life and death over there just to get to 2-6. So, yeah, that's not worth the conversation today about losing and hurting your draft position on November 4th. But is it enough to call it a proof of concept game for Callahan? There was some situational stuff that wasn't good yesterday.
There were several.
They were 2 of 5 in the red zone, and that's been an issue the last 2 weeks, right? Not just red zone, but goal line scoring inside the 10, inside the 5. But the Titans had not compiled over 400 yards of offense until last weekend. They did it in Detroit. Obviously, they got run out of Ford Field with a terrible special teams performance and an inability to finish drives and turnovers. And then they did it again on Sunday and were able to use it to find a way to win by winning the turnover battle and not giving up as much yardage on special teams while coming up short in other areas. So back-to-back games of 400-plus yards on offense. Finally a win to show for it. Both games with Mason Rudolph at quarterback. Titans have moved the football better in these last 2 games than they have at any point in the season, right? So you take everything into consideration, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Was yesterday enough to call it a proof of concept game for Brian Callahan, understanding all the limitations and all the places they came up short as well?
Well, honestly, that's kind of the place that I'm glad that you brought it back to, because you didn't hear the full introductory comments there, so I'm going to read you some of it. He starts off with the injury details and then goes into, quote, "But man, what a definition of what we want our football team to look like and play like when things get tight. Tremendous amount of resilience. We finally got in position where the way our team plays and the way that they want to go about their business actually got a chance to pay off for us, which was really great to see." And while he's saying that in real time, I'm like, oh, you want it to look that way?
I get what he's saying.
Oh, no, I do too.
Yeah.
But like in real time, when I hear him open the press conference with that, seeing clearly that he's up there physically having a sigh of relief because, oh my God, they won finally. I'm like, I don't know if I like the idea of proof of concept with that, because that was exhausting, that game.
The situation at the end of the first half was handled poorly, right? They were not good in the red zone, but I think the point from him there is how many times this season have the Titans started off well and then the pendulum swings to the other team and they don't even come close to getting it back, and it just goes into a tailspin from there. And yesterday, you lost your starting center, reportedly for the season with an Achilles.
Yep.
You lost Quandre Diggs, who's quietly been playing good football this year at safety.
Probably for the season.
You're playing with a backup quarterback. I understand he might be better than your starter, but that's a different conversation. All of these things that happened, and you were able to still, you give up a touchdown.
And the guy that you wouldn't let sniff the field, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, is out there catching a touchdown in his fourth straight game.
But Calvin Ridley, who ended up having a nice day, had some drop balls, right? Yep. You missed some opportunities. You give up a touchdown on the final play of regulation. So many things that you've seen them just be completely incapable of bouncing back from this year.
On that, in huge part due to penalty, which was some of the most egregious stuff that they did yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. Penalties that aided the Patriots on scoring drives, and still you were able to find a way to win. So to me, that's kind of what he's saying there.
No, I got what he's saying, and I got that I don't want to fault him for being caught up in the emotion of, oh my God, thank you for winning a football game, because I understand his point. But that's like the articulation of what a definition of what we want our football team to look like. I'm like, oh, I don't know if that's the way, but I get it. Now, here's the other thing.
I don't think that's him saying, I want us to be 2 of 5 in the red zone.
No, I understand. I understand. Here's the other thing, though. So, the emotions of it. Okay, I understand that. I appreciate that. And I am totally fine with him getting emotional about a win yesterday. But now, I'm curious to see how he handles the rest of this moving forward, because it does not end in week 9. Like, we still have 9 more weeks to go. You got a road date with Los Angeles, the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh wants to kick your ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, so now Brian Callahan and company, let's not just make it about him. Now, after showing that emotion and feeling like you've had a little bit of a breakthrough, at least in some areas, can you steel yourself for the moment? I'm not saying, I'm not out here doing toughen up Buttercup or something like that, but like legitimately, how can you stabilize yourself, enjoy the win while you can, and turn it around quick? Go out there and do it again. Like, you have to go out there and do it again. Like, that's not, proof of concept does not end because you won a game yesterday. I can be sympathetic to the man in real time and understand how damn hard those jobs are to do, and also look at it and say, if I'm a fan, a media member, or whomever, a person in that locker room, all right, how are we going to do this again? 615-737-1045 is the number. We'll get your phone calls on this coming up next. Also, Brian Callahan is going to speak to the media at 11 o'clock. We'll carry that press conference live. I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone. Correct. You can't spell win without NWI. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, 6-yard reception from Mason Rudolph. That was with 4:27 left in the fourth quarter. That gave the Titans a 17-10 lead. Now they would blow that 17-10 lead, and they would let the Patriots march down the field and score a touchdown of their own in 11 plays, 50 yards, with zeros on the clock to allow that game.
Ian Rappaport of NFL Network. Titans veteran safety Quandre Diggs has suffered a season-ending Liz Frank injury that will require surgery. He says a costly win for Tennessee. So reports about Lloyd Cushenberry being out with an Achilles for the year, and now Rappaport saying Diggs will also be out for the season.
Well, yeah, we had said that Quandre Diggs was going to be out for the season. We did not know that it was a Liz Frank injury, though the way that his foot kind of bent in that moment, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Now,
and he was playing well.
Well, and I hate that for him because he could have been traded.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my next question. And maybe this is something for later in the show, but does that affect Amani Hooker's market? Now that Quandre Diggs is gone, he's like your only competent safety left on the team.
Yeah, I mean, factually accurate. You bring back Titans legend. You want to bring back what's my guy's name? 33.
Jamal Adams,
Titans legend.
Hooker
nobody signed him. He's not doing it.
Looks like he's fighting everybody else off with a stick, so you might have trouble getting him in town.
I mean, if you're going to make a move before the deadline tomorrow afternoon, it's probably on defense, right? That unit played really well yesterday for the most part.
Continues to put together a solid resume for teams that could use a pass rusher.
Arden Key has never had 4 sacks in a 3-game stretch in his career. So he's arguably playing the best football of his NFL career in these last couple of weeks. And Amani Hooker also with 2 interceptions yesterday.
So, an unfortunate update. We knew it was for the season. We did not know it was Les Frank. Ian Rappaport first on the news. Phone calls, 615-737-1045. Titans did get a win yesterday. You are more than welcome to react. Let's go to RJ in Phoenix, who's always a pleasure. Hey, RJ.
What's going on, fellas, man? Can't get a win without NWI. That's a bar. That's a bar right there. So
I wish I could say that was original. I definitely stole that from somebody. I don't know who, but I stole it.
So it's crazy, man. Callahan said that he got choked up and he said Tony Pollard is everything, but he didn't give him the ball on the goal line and we ended up throwing the interception. I was so pissed. That was crazy. I don't understand if he's everything. Why we don't? I was like, if we throw the ball, I'm gonna break the TV, and then we threw the ball and I didn't break the TV. I don't think tanking is good, man. If we tank for the number 1 pick, that means we are super trash, and a rookie is not going to make us better next year if we're super trash. We want momentum going on to the season. We want Will Levis to get his stuff together so we don't need to draft a quarterback. And my dad said that he wants to move back for Dak. So y'all let him have it. I'm gone.
No, thank you. Also, have we gotten the test results back? Are we going to do an episode of Mari live on the show?
Jerry's not letting those get out.
I mean, he literally let them get out. There's a lawsuit ongoing with a woman who's claiming to be his child right now.
It's between Jerry Jones and Steve Harvey as to who could be my father.
Who's more likely?
Can't you tell by the...
we'll put it to a poll. Who's more likely to be...
Stash?
Who's... Yeah, that's how I know. That's the one reason that I know you're not Steve Harvey's child.
It put a lot of questions in my noggin, thinking about it like that.
Okay, about the Pollard stuff, because RJ is right. You know what I thought about when I'm watching them throw on the goal line again? Nick Holtz's comment saying, yeah, if we got those matchups again, we'd probably do it again. Maybe we'd learn from it, but we'd probably do it again, and me hating those comments. That's another reason why I'm not going to say I took issue with Brian Callahan saying that's exactly the way that we wanted our team to look. To gut it out and find a win. He was talking more about the resiliency when tested. So I understood his point with that. But that was a frustrating sequence that, again, proves to you that he told you he was going to do it again. Well, Holtz, the offensive coordinator, told you that they would do it again, and they did it again, which is frustrating because Tony Pollard is Tony Pollard the best player on the football team right now? I mean, I didn't know Jeff Hatz. Who's better than Tony Pollard right now? Jeff had his best day of the season yesterday.
I guess he's having the best season.
But Tony Pollard has been the best player on the team this year.
Sure. Again, Amani Hooker quietly has played really good football all season, I think.
Yes.
But because you got to look first to the defense, a unit that has given you every opportunity to win a lot of games. But yeah, no, Pollard has absolutely been the best player on offense, without a doubt.
Let's go to Larry in Lebanon up next. Hey, Larry.
Hey, Bud. Hey, after watching that game and after what you guys just talked about, Tony Pollard, I think we've got a good run-blocking offensive line, a little questionable pass blocking. But anyway, my question is about draft picks, and I'm not one of those that's thinking they need to lose, to get a high draft pick. But apparently this draft is going to be heavy in the 3rd through the 7th round, at least that's what experts say. What can we do to get a few more draft picks? Because I think we need some more draft picks, because I think this group of guys drafted pretty well last year. So what's our options as far as getting a few more draft picks for next year's draft? Thanks.
Thank you for the call, Larry. Selling parts before tomorrow at 3 p.m., right? Like that's your most immediate solution. Now you could get the best possible draft pick in the draft and trade back to further acquire assets, but that's further down the road. Right now, we're more than 24 hours, but still about 24 hours away from the NFL trade deadline. So you've got Arden Key. Now, Quandre Diggs, I think makes sense. I think did make sense. I think Amani Hooker makes a lot of sense for a contender. Robert, would you like Amani Hooker on the Ravens?
I would definitely take Amani Hooker on the Ravens.
I think there's plenty of contenders who would look at that player and think the exact same thing as they try to fortify themselves for this stretch run. Offensively, I don't know that there's anybody. Well, NWI. I don't know how somebody couldn't look at NWI and think, I could make that work for me.
Do not let that man leave town.
No, for his sake. I'm saying for his sake. He deserves it.
A multi-year deal. Right here in Music City.
They keep disrespecting him. We asked him yesterday. In fact, can I play this audio really quick, Bert? I don't know if you're in the middle of something. Of Nick Westbrook-Ikhine being asked if he thought he was going to be in this position when they relegated him to 5th on this wide receiver depth chart at the start of training camp. Let's hear from Nick Westbrook-Ikhine in the locker room yesterday.
It means a lot. I feel like, coaches have put me in a position of trusting me to go out there and be a starter on the team. Coming in, probably wasn't expecting that, knowing the roster that we had. And so I just go to work and try to do my best to help this team win. Feel blessed to have this opportunity, take advantage of it. I feel like that's just kind of how the good Lord made me. I just go to work.
That's how the good Lord made him, just like the Honda Accord. They don't fail you, baby. They just keep chugging. More of your phone calls coming up next. Also, Brian Callahan's press conference. He's had time to watch the tape. What new insights will the Titans head coach bring after winning 20-17 in overtime yesterday? I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
11:01, good morning from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Titans have their second win after a 20-17 overtime victory over the New England Patriots Sunday at Nissan Stadium. The Patriots tied the game on the final play of regulation as a scrambling Drake May found Ramondre Stevenson in the end zone. Nick Folk's 25-yard field goal gave the Titans the lead in overtime, and Amani Hooker's second interception of the day is what sealed it.
Play fake. May looking deep, throwing deep. Booty is there, but it's intercepted. Hooker came over to get it. Hooker came over to get it. Took a knee, and it's over. It's over.
The Titans are 2-6 after the win. Mike Keith and Coach Dave McGinnis on the Titans radio call. It is the first home win of 2024. Mason Rudolph, 29 of 41, 206 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. Tony Pollard ran for a season-high 128 yards on 28 carries. Brian Callahan will meet with the media coming up in a few moments. There is news today. Ian Rappaport reporting that Titan safety Quandre Diggs is out for the remainder of the season with a Liz Frank injury. Also, multiple reports that Titans center Lloyd Cushenberry will miss the rest of the year with an Achilles. In other NFL news, the New Orleans Saints have fired head coach Dennis Allen after a 7th straight loss Sunday at the Carolina Panthers. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once in your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
That's right. Titans won a football game. What did Max say in that highlight? Take some of that. Send the New England Patriots home packing. 2-7 of the Pats, 2-6 of the Titans, 20-17 in overtime. Gets the job done yesterday. Your phone calls are welcome. 615-737-1045. How'd you feel about the win? How did it impact your mood? Are you pissed because you want a better draft pick? Are you happy just to see a smile on your favorite football team's respective faces? No, there's some mixed emotions today. Brian Callahan, speaking of emotions, he'll be back at the podium. I don't expect his voice to crack today the way that it did yesterday, but we'll see. A lot of stuff going on. To Lucas's point, or to Lucas's update, there have been firings in the NFL. It's not just the Saints. The Raiders lost to the Panthers and decided, no, people have to get fired for losing to the Panthers.
7 straight losses after that electric 2-0 start.
For New Orleans, specifically, yes.
Where they destroyed the Panthers in week 1 and then destroyed the Cowboys and haven't won since.
So I think that there might have been jobs on the line yesterday for the Titans. I don't know this to be so, but I think the vibes were starting to build throughout the course of that game, especially when they gave up a touchdown that would have tied it. I just felt like somebody was going to pay for this. And whether it was a meaningful fire or not, like it felt like somebody was going to pay if they lost that game yesterday. Now, how much that, delays the inevitable of changes that might potentially get made with this organization doesn't matter. For the time being, nobody's fired, and they won a football game. So we'll hear Brian Callahan's insights on that here in just a second. The other part of this that we'll get to later, normally at 11 o'clock on a Monday, we do a quarterback vibe check, but because Callahan is expected to speak here in a few minutes, we'll delay the vibe check slightly. Though something that is, looming in the back of Titans fans' heads have to be, well, okay, we won a football game, and Mason Rudolph put it together. But Mason Rudolph isn't the starting quarterback if the other one's healthy. So how does that upend the apple cart, so to speak? Whenever they put Will Levis back into the lineup, does that cause Brian Callahan to choke up again? Because it has been frustrating. It has been maddening. It has been, this season has been a suffering across the board, and you can see, you could see it on the coaches are wearing it on their faces. The way that they've had to gut it out. What did you just drop?
Nothing. Just holding this quarter inch. Go on. I'm not the one derailing the show here. That's you.
The point being, I honestly thought the players were not that handling losing should be acceptable, but either way, Brian Callahan's up at the podium.
Very likely to head to IR when we make those moves. So disappointed for them. That's a bummer. Those guys are really doing a nice job playing for us. So that's disappointing for them and for us. So that's likely to be the case in the outcome here. Other than that, just going to be the same. A lot of the same this week as it was last week. We got guys that are fighting. We got some things that take some time. We'll probably have a bunch of guys. I'll have to manage practice, and we'll have guys missing practice, and we'll have a lengthy injury report, I'm sure, throughout the course of the week, and then we'll get to Sunday and see where we're at. So there'll be a bunch of names listed, and some guys resting, some guys banged up. So just anticipate that from an injury report standpoint. And then a couple of things just like to point out, again, from last night, just the unbelievable performance by Tony Pollard. Even after watching it, it's even more impressive after watching it. Some of the cuts that he made, the physicality he ran with, really awesome performance. Monty Hooker, again, same situation, didn't practice much, really showed up, with 2 turnovers were huge, wanted to seal the game. That part was really cool to see and have him come alive for us. That was great. And then the guys that stepped up in the midst of injury, I thought Corey Levin really had a nice game overall. Stepping in at center, got to get some of the snaps corralled a bit, but other than that, I thought he really stepped in and did a nice job. And then Dan Brunskill playing for Raidens at the right guard, I thought he had a nice game. So there were some guys that stepped up and had really nice performances. Mike Brown as well, when he had to go in there for Quandre, he did some really nice things. So it was just good to see guys step up and play well and do the most with their opportunities. So.
With Lloyd out, what are your center options now? Would you stick with Corey or?
Well, I mean, if Raidens is healthy and good to go, Brunskill moves to center, Raidens plays right guard, and Corey's our swing. Obviously, if Raidens isn't good to go, then we'll have Corey at center and Danny at right guard. So that'll be a kind of a moving process. We'll obviously need some reinforcement somewhere, whether it's a practice squad call up or a signing. We'll be looking for those spots over the course of the early part of the week here, and see what that looks like. But that would be some moving pieces as we get back from injury.
I guess Spears, did he have any kind of a setback, or is it just taking time with him? And if he is back, would you like to reduce Tony's workload a little bit?
I would, yeah. I mean, Tony's carrying the ball a lot, and you see it's wearing on him at this point, and we like to get Tajay back to help that and let those guys rotate more. I wouldn't say he had a setback. It's just the nature of hamstrings where you try to open and try to go, and then you feel it, and it doesn't feel as good the next day, and it's just kind of an up and down thing with soft tissue. And hopeful that we have a chance to see him again this week. But I was hopeful last week and all that, so I'll refrain from being hopeful at this stage, and we'll just see where he comes out at the end of the week. But I would definitely like to get him going and get him back rolling.
The first illegal formation penalty on special teams you guys disagreed with.
Yeah.
The second one.
Oh, no, Justin left early.
No, but the 3 that you've had.
Yeah. Well, the first one, just because I'm tired of hearing about it, but the first one, the league came back and said they shouldn't have called it. So I know I'm not supposed to say that, but, that wasn't a penalty. It shouldn't have been called. The second one, Justin left early in the game. I don't really have an explanation for why. He shouldn't have. He didn't do it in practice. He just left early on the kick, so that's a penalty, and they should call it, and we shouldn't do that. What was the other one there, Paul? Sorry.
I thought there were 3 of them.
The one on the sideline? The holding?
In the game or just over the course of the season on kickoff?
Over the course of the season.
I can't remember what the other one would have been.
Last week.
Detroit. Kinsey, Detroit.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's the same. It's nothing changed. It was the same. I don't. That should have been a penalty either.
How are you drawing the lucky straw where they're calling illegal formation penalties against you and they're nowhere else in the league? It seems.
Yeah, I don't know, Paul. To be honest with you, I'd like to talk to Perry about it. To be honest, but yeah, it's irritating. It's annoying. And again, Justin's was clearly a penalty. The other 2, not. So that part's irritating for us, and I don't have an answer for you on why they get called and why they don't.
You concerned at all about Jaquan Jackson putting the ball on the ground?
Yeah, absolutely.
On returns?
Yeah.
What other options do you have there if you decide that he needs a break from it?
We don't have a ton of them. Most people don't have a ton. Tyler Boyd's returned. Mason Kinsey's returned, but Jaquan's done some good things, but the ball on the ground is not one of them. He also tends to, little guys like him, those smaller returners, tend to find ways to avoid some of the hits, and for some reason he takes a lot of them. I mean, he takes some big hits. which, that happens in the return game, but, the ball can't come out, and he knows that. So that's got to get corrected. We can't have the ball out on returns at any point, and he's got to just do a better job of hanging on to the football.
Talk us through that sequence before halftime after the penalty. Was Mason just kind of instructed to throw the ball out of bounds there? Or kind of
No, we kind of had, so I'll just take you through the whole thing just so, and if you have more questions, I can answer them too. But we get the run. We run the ball into field goal range. The intent was to get ourselves inside of the 35, just to ensure we had a kick. Then we get the hold. It backs us up, and then we have the injury, which then takes away a timeout. So now we're in a down clock situation where we either complete the ball in bounds and we're clocking it fast. We have no timeouts, or we're trying to get out of bounds. After that injury, timeout gets taken away, lose the timeout, trying to get a play call in that's kind of situationally specific. Get it halfway in, and the mic goes out, and Mason can't finish it. And so then it's like, now we take delay a game, so then it looks really bad, but it's just one of those things that happens sometimes. So then now we're in with no timeouts and the time on the clock, we're in trying to get out of bounds. We have to get a ball to the sideline. So the first one we call a boundary play to the sideline. They play a sideline defense. Might have had a chance to hit Ridley, might not. It would have been an aggressive throw. So Mason throws the ball away. I mean, we were trying to get out of bounds in that particular case. Those are hard plays to get off when they're playing a defense designed to keep you from getting out of bounds. So that goes out of bounds. And then with 3 seconds left, and we could have thrown a Hail Mary, run about the 50. And at the half, I wasn't in a place where I was like, I just want to throw the ball down at the end zone. I've seen those go really badly at the half. At the end of the game is a different story, but at the half, just didn't want to put the ball in the air and risk the ball getting intercepted and run back. I mean, you're in a really vulnerable spot if that happens. And then they probably were going to pressure the Hail Mary anyway, which is not ideal as well. So ultimately treated that as what we call a foul ball situation on that 4th down with 3 seconds left. We just throw it as high and far out of bounds as you can, and the half's over, And it looks bad and everybody boos and all that, but that was intentional. I wanted him to do that. You throw it as high and far out of bounds, so the clock runs out, and we take to the half. Like, the half was over at that point, and a Hail Mary wouldn't have been much better. So that's why, and that's how it all sort of happened. It wasn't the holding was really what killed it. And then the injury timeout that took away the timeout was another thing. It didn't look good, but there was reason behind some of that. So I would have liked to come out with 3 points, and the holding call was the one that really killed it.
Regulation. If you're on offense there, wouldn't you love to be rushed 3 and have a chance to run around for 10 seconds and play some offense there?
There's two theories that go into that. Sometimes it's you max pressure them, which is something that we've done before. That sometimes allows the ball to get out quick, but you're one-on-one everywhere, and you're playing in a zero coverage element, which is again part of it. Or you rush 3 and cover and hope you force the quarterback. Into a decision. Now you got bodies everywhere, and you can plaster, and they do run around some. So yeah, it's a philosophical thing, and you go back and forth on when and where it's the right time to deploy either one of those things, whether you max drop or max pressure. And we decided to max drop it, and ultimately it almost worked. He had a lot of time back there, and we should have had him down on the ground once for sure, and then they're hitting them down to the ground as the ball is getting thrown, and the guy makes a great play. I mean, I don't really have much of an answer for that, but it's either one. You're in those spots. You're usually thinking max pressure, max coverage, and then went with the max coverage answer.
It can't be kind of normal.
You can. I mean, yeah. There's different philosophies on it, but you could 4-man rush it and play normal coverage too. There's sort of 3 options there, and we picked the max coverage option at that point, and almost ultimately worked. But then it just. You can't let them go for, 11 and a half seconds. I mean, that can't happen. So you hope the ball gets thrown or there's enough people in coverage to make a throwing lane hard.
Talk about this team in the past kind of failing to play complementary football. Some of those negative plays have tended to spiral. The team yesterday bounced back from a lot of those negative moments, like that last play, to then answer with the overtime drive. What do you feel like was different about the sideline or just the team in general that allowed them to complement each other well?
Yeah, that is a good question. I've been waiting to feel that, sort of all season long, and we haven't done a very good job. That was the first time, this season where I haven't felt like it was like, oh no, here comes the negative stuff. Like our guys finally got to the point where it was like no, we got you. I got you. We'll make the play here. Hey, offense didn't do great. Defense went and stepped up. Defense gives up a touchdown. We go answer with a touchdown drive. It just we complement each other well. Our guys are playing for each other. They're playing together. That was the most sort of connected I felt our team in the course of the early part of the season, and it's one of the things we talk about all the time. And to see that turn in that game in that moment was I think important for us. And they did a really nice job of not ever flinching when things went bad and that was something we've been trying to get over for a while. And then hopefully this is the first time ends up being, the one of many when we need it. So it was really positive and encouraging to see that happen.
How infectious do you think winning a game like that can be? To have those answers, to win a game in overtime like that, do you think that has much carryover into this week?
Oh yeah, I think it does. I mean, there's it's one of those things you can't quantify in sports, but there's a momentum factor to it. There's a confidence that gets built. When every time that you overcome something, you build some more confidence that you're in a spot and capable to do it again. And that part of it was really encouraging, and the hope is that carries you into now when you're in the same spot again, we should feel the same. We know we're capable of climbing out of a hole and complimenting each other when we need to and picking each other up when one side of one phase of the game isn't playing as well at certain spots, and we know we're capable of answering. So I think it builds confidence that when you're in that situation again, you know how to handle it.
For Diggs, and how you think he did stepping in.
Really nice
yesterday.
job. Yeah, really nice job. Had a big play one-on-one with Hunter Henry down at the end of the game where he got his hand on the ball with a pass breakup, and Mike got a lot of work this week. With Hook being out for a lot of practice, so he got a lot of work in practice. He was prepared. He knew what to do, and he went out and performed well. And that's what we need from guys that ultimately don't always get a lot of run. With the starting group, and he did a really nice job of stepping in.
You've been consistent in that when Will's healthy, you want him back in there and stay in there. I'm assuming that's still your plan?
Yep, still is. That hasn't changed.
Think this could be the week, or is it still TBD?
I'm hopeful that this is the week. I think we'll see how he feels today. Should feel good, and then we'll increase the workload and let it go and see how he responds throughout the week. But I'm hopeful that this is gives him a chance to go play.
Has the football community become, and I'm talking coaches, players, fans, everybody, unrealistic in their expectations when it comes to interceptions with quarterbacks, where everybody freaks out if they throw one?
Oh, I don't know. I just know that there's very few years where you look up and there's many quarterbacks that are in single-digit interceptions. I mean, they throw them. And a lot of them are out of their control, and I know I've said it before too. Every interception sort of has its own story on how and why they occur. Sometimes it's decision making, sometimes it's accuracy, sometimes it's pressure in the pocket, forced an errant throw. Sometimes the ball gets tipped up in the air. Sometimes a defender makes a great play, and there's just a lot of things that go into it. And I think that quarterbacks throw interceptions. It happens. You try to avoid it as much as possible, but I don't overreact to them. I'd like to throw less of them than we've thrown, certainly. I'm not condoning that, hey, no, it's okay, just throw interceptions. But there is this element like, oh, my God, the guy threw an interception. And it's like, how could he do that? Why would he do that? And it's like, well, it's sometimes not necessarily that easy. But, there's a lot of armchair quarterbacking out there, too, I think, which is, it's how it goes.
How much do you, on those lines, how much do you preach to your defense to lessen the damage on those sorts of things? Because like Minnesota last night had interception in the red zone, fumble return for touchdown, and still won the game by 8 points. Mm-hmm. That resiliency in the defense's ability to, I guess, shut that off seems to be what separates the good teams from the bad teams when it comes to operating that way.
That's a sudden change. When your defense, you get thrown back out there on a turnover and you have a chance to either bow up or give up points. And the good teams in the league handle sudden change as well. They limit the damage. And again, you turn the ball over in plus territory, hold them to a field goal. Great job. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. That is the mark usually of a good team that complements each other, is that they go out there, the defense goes and plays regardless of where the ball gets snapped, and they do a good job of limiting whatever damage could have come from it. Certainly, ideally, you'd love to stop them and force a punt and not get points out of it, but you turn the ball over in plus territory or in field goal range, you're sort of already giving them 3 points, and as long as you can keep that from getting worse, you have to put yourself in a good position, and you answer what ends up being a really negative play offensively with a strong defensive response. And on the flip side too is when our defense gets a turnover, same thing we did is our defense gets that turnover in plus territory, and we go down and we punch one in for 7 points. That's how you complement and respond to the sudden changes, and that's how you give yourself a chance to win the game when you make those kind of plays.
How much have you addressed, or do you plan to address the deadline tomorrow with the team, and just kind of what is the emotion before deadline day?
Yeah, it's all part of the business. The players they're aware, they understand, they know. I won't address anything unless there's something to address. If we have something to address, then I will. And I can't say whether or not there will be or there won't be, but I just know that it's part of the business. It's not a fun part of the business, and you just try to be as transparent as you can and let guys know what's happening if there is something that happens.
The guys that said you showed us, you had a slideshow, the different people behind the scenes work within the building. Where did you get that idea? Is that something that you've done before?
It is, yeah. Two things I did was I really enjoy listening to teams when they win championships. I really like listening to the post-game interviews. They're often very revealing on what the team was, who they are as a team. And I thought the Dodgers, when a lot of the post-game interviews, especially on the field interviews of the players, just really, really cool to hear what they say about their team. And a lot of the themes of what we talk about daily and have talked about since I've gotten here, you hear them say the same things. And I just played it for them, and I let them listen to it and felt like, there's a commonality in these teams that win championships, and a lot of it is how the team works and how the culture works within the team and the building. And I thought it was worth sharing. And one of the things that the manager of the Dodgers said and they're up on the stage, and he said there's a lot of people that are a part of this that aren't here right now, and that just resonated with me. That they have people that clean their building, and they have people that make their food, and people that take care of all these things so they can go do that. They get a chance to go play. They have to worry about nothing but playing baseball and trying to win a championship. And it was something we had done in Cincinnati a bit too. And I actually had a conversation with Cheeto about it in the hallway the other day. And I just felt like it was at the right time for that. And obviously I think it resonated with the guys. And I just said, make sure that, when you walk around this building, that that the work that all these people are doing to make sure that we're putting ourselves in position to win. And if you need a little bit of extra motivation or you want to play a little harder, like play for those people, because they're investing everything they have into you, into our team, and we kind of owe it to them as well to use that. And so I just showed a couple of people that some of the guys that help clean the building and some of the people that work in the cafeteria just how much we appreciate what they do and how they do it, and hopefully it worked and guys took it to heart, and I think some of them did.
What do you do for Encore this week?
Yeah, look, I spend a lot of time thinking about my meetings. It takes me all week, and I usually have some ideas and themes and things I want to hit. But one of the main point of a lot of these meetings is that I'm trying to keep showing guys what we want it to look like, and how we want it to look, and what's important to what the character of the team is and the culture of the building. And I spend a lot of time thinking about it, and I hope that they take it to heart. It seems like we're starting to embody a lot of those things that we talk about, which is really encouraging for me.
A lot. I mean, we talk about Nick a lot on offense, just showing up. Jack yesterday, I think he had 14 tackles, 2 for a loss. And it's like he's kind of like that bad penny that just shows up.
Same type of guy. He's where he's supposed to be. He knows what to do. He knows how to do it, and he finds ways to continue to perform. And he's put together 2 back-to-back really good games, which is really impressive. And same way as Nick, they're the guys that you look at on paper, and a lot of times you think that we can find bigger, faster, stronger, better, et cetera, but you don't take into account that they're just incredibly smart football players, and they know what to do, and they're consistent and they're reliable, and those things oftentimes are much more important than your height, your weight, and your speed, and they keep showing up, and that's really cool to see those guys continue to perform.
That's Brian Callahan at the podium. We'll react to what the Titans head coach had to say. Take your phone calls as well. Coming up next.
Against the Titans and play.
That is Amani Hooker's first interception, not the walk-off INT to win the thing in overtime yesterday. But that was 2 interceptions for Amani Hooker. He's just a solid player, just an above-average football player that may draw some teams' interest come tomorrow's trade deadline at 3 p.m. Central Time. We'll see if there's any movement on that front. Brian Callahan just concluded his Monday recap press conference. We're taking your phone calls in reaction to that. 615-737-1045. Some highlights to discuss, or, depending on how you want to classify these. Highlights may not be the word, but Lloyd Cushenberry and Quandre Diggs sound like both are going to be done for the year. Confirmed by the head coach, or head coach in process of confirming that being the expectation. They still plan to go back to Will Levis whenever he's healthy. Brian Callahan is expressing optimism that it could be this week, quote, hopeful that this is the week for Will Levis. And then a couple of other situational things that he was asked about, the special teams on the opening kickoff return that apparently the league office went back and told them should not have been a penalty, which is interesting, something to note there. Colt Anderson under fire for a great many reasons, but maybe not all of them legitimate. Also, the end of the first half sequence where Brian Callahan walked, I think Nick Suss is the person who asked that question there, walked the Titans media through what their thought process was. Was Mason being coached to just throw it out of bounds if the touchdown wasn't there to be had? They had a couple opportunities to at least try and get points. They were without a timeout, however, because of an injury that cost them their final timeout in the half when a player, essentially takes a knee, because Jeff Simmons, not that Jeff did this on purpose or should be chastised for it, but Jeff taking a knee in the second half of that game, dealing with something going on with his right leg. I've never seen a wrap like that on a human being. It was giant what they had on Jeff on the sidelines. I don't know how often the TV cameras were panning to that. But Jeff taking a knee in the second half allowed the Patriots to get a breather, because it makes the team with the injured player have to take a timeout in that spot. Titans were dealing with that in the first half. Had 8 seconds left. Were throwing in completions to try and get the job done, to try and buy themselves more time, more opportunities to take a chance in the end zone, and ultimately came away from that sequence without points, but that 10-7 lead. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Jacob in Cleveland has been waiting patiently. Hi, Jacob.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
So I had a question. When it comes to evaluating the coaching staff, it's all about Will Levis. And I know with last year, his numbers looked better. He looked like he had promise in the league. But we had Derrick Henry. He was facing 8-man boxes. So they had to respect the run, so we were able to surprise them with the pass. And now that Derrick Henry's gone, balling out in Baltimore, we don't have 8-man boxes really facing us anymore. So they don't have to really respect the run game that we have, which I think is why Pollard's going off. And I feel that that's why we're seeing Will Levis regress so much, because a lot of those passes that he had last year could have been intercepted, but there was less defenders guarding them. So I just wanted to see what you guys think. Being from Cleveland, it's awesome watching the Browns lose, so it's not as miserable as a Titans fan as watching the Cleveland Browns. So later, guys.
Thanks for the call, Jacob. I don't know what percentage of the time they're seeing loaded boxes, but I would probably disagree with that assessment just based on watching Tony Pollard run. He's getting hit a lot at or behind the line of scrimmage, and he's just making something happen. Like some of the jump cuts that Tony Pollard had yesterday, had a touchdown wiped off the board for a holding call. I think it was on Wiley, the holding call that wiped one of the a Pollard score off the board there. Tony Pollard is doing a lot. The run game is really the only thing that you have to try and stop, or that you set out to stop with the Titans offense first and foremost. So I would disagree with that assessment. But again, on a percentage of how often they're seeing 8, potentially 9-man boxes, I don't have those exact figures in front of me, but we can effort to find out just exactly how different, or if it is significantly different from what Derrick Henry's experience was.
I do think we slightly overrate Levis's performances last year when talking about a regression. He has done more things that just have you pulling your hair out this year that he did not do last year in terms of decisions. But just looking at the numbers, I think is slightly misleading. I mean, Will Levis threw a lot of interceptable balls that were not intercepted last year. And as we've talked about, apart from the Atlanta game, where nobody's really prepared for him to come in defensively, he really just had that sequence in the fourth quarter against the Dolphins. So I do think that we stray a little bit from what we really saw from Levis. We saw that he looks like a guy that could be something, that belongs at the NFL level, but I do think we slightly overrate it when talking about how good he was last year and how it's not been so good in 2024.
You, a doubter and a hater. Wyatt is up next. Hey, Wyatt.
Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Hey, how's it going? Just wanted to say something about the whole, y'all mentioned like how ridiculous it is that people are wanting to tank and whatnot. Just a few thoughts on that. My moral compass goes insane when people want to tank this early in November. I know a lot of y'all share those thoughts, and it's just ridiculous that, it's like Callahan was saying, there's so many people in the organization that pour their heart and soul out every week to put a product in the field, and the fact that fans are, already so impatiently wanting to tank in November is just ridiculous. Just a few thoughts on that, and then a question for y'all. This part of it, I didn't see any Titans fans, cheering when Drake May scored that touchdown, but I sure as hell see a lot of Titans fans on Instagram and Twitter saying, "Oh man, we should have lost. We can't even tank effectively." So it's part of the whole tanking culture, just kind of the social media and instant gratification era that we live in. And then lastly, in what world does a first-time GM and head coach want to lose halfway through the season? They're trying to prove that they can do the job that they're assigned to in the first place. And lastly, y'all probably know more about this than me, but in years past, whether it be the Titans or other organizations.
Oh, I'm sorry, Wyatt. 60 seconds on the clock, so that final point is going to be lost to the Oscars music. But we can answer your question about specific to tanking culture coming up next. We can also take more of your phone calls. If you got them, I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. The Tennessee Men's Clinic has helped so many guys who have dealt with erectile dysfunction over the course of the last decade plus, and they can help clear up any misconceptions you may have about what ED treatments you can or are able to pursue. A lot of guys give up hope when the pills stop working or when any other treatment method that you've tried just falls short of what you're trying to accomplish. If you go see your family care doctor, for example, they may only have certain protocols that they can offer you to cure ED, and some of those might involve irreversible surgery. Do not get irreversible surgery before you speak to the experts at the Tennessee Men's Clinic, because all they do is focus on fixes for men's sexual health issues. It makes them the experts in the field, and their protocols are patient-centered to make sure that you get the best treatment for your body specific to your needs. Don't trust your health to an online pharmacy. Go to the Tennessee Men's Clinic to make sure that you can get the best treatment and care possible. You can visit them online today for either their Franklin or Midtown location to schedule an appointment at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. That's TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. That is Titans Radio. Mike Keith on the call. Arden Key strips it. Jeff Simmons recovers it. Titans able to capitalize with some defensive momentum. They get the job done 20-17 in overtime yesterday. 2-6 may not feel meaningful in the grand scheme of things. It is not terribly meaningful, but 9 more opportunities. Again, it's about what you do to prove yourself right about what it is that you think you are as a football team, as a football program, as a coaching staff, the way that you implement all of these things. Yesterday was important for just that. Because again, I try not to hyperfixate on one specific comment anymore and project it out to what more people might think when it's just one person saying it. But the amount of comments talking about needing to tank in the YouTube chat today they're enough to give you a headache.
It will do you more harm than good right now in terms of the long-term success of this administration, so to speak. It will do you more harm than good to lose. And it's one of those things that you can't believe you got to say it, but that's the case. It will do worse for your building to lose games right now than to win games.
615-737-1045 is the number if you would like to join the conversation. So a quarterback vibe check. Let's do one real quick. Can I hear from Brian Callahan on the Will Levis situation from this press conference not 20 minutes ago?
Consistent in that when Will's healthy, you want him back in there and stay in there. I'm assuming that's still your plan?
Yep, still is. That hasn't changed.
Could be the week, or is it still TBD?
I'm hopeful that this is the week. I think we'll see how he feels today. Should feel good, and then we'll increase the workload and let it go and see how he responds throughout the week. But I'm hopeful that this is gives him a chance to go play.
Okay, so the quarterback for the last 3 weeks has not, of course, been Will Levis because he's been dealing with that sprained shoulder. It's been Mason Rudolph. So Mason Rudolph in this game does enough. He's 240 yards, 2 touchdowns, 60.6 completion percentage. He does throw an interception in this game. There have been 10 straight Titans games where an interception has been thrown. Those are killers. It was not the killer yesterday because you ended up coming out on the right side of the turnover battle, which you have not at any other point this year. Turns out that is the fastest way to lose a game, is to lose the turnover battle. So when the vibes are, all right, you figured it out with Will Levis. Your head coach is emotional at the press conference. He's exasperated because it's just been so damn hard to try and get this team to do anything that would lead to a win, and they've only managed to do it twice out of, 8 opportunities to do so. The way that this trends, stability would feel like the best option here. Will Levis does not connote stability anywhere other than his mayonnaise commercials, right? Where he's talking about balance and zen and all these other things, control the chaos, which is quite antithetical to who that person is as a football player. What are the vibes around the quarterback situation coming off the second win of the season where Mason Rudolph does enough to get the job done and helps them win the game in overtime?
Unchanged. Season was about Will Levis, fighting out about Will Levis. Whether or not you think you have your answer on Will Levis doesn't mean they think they have their answer on Will Levis. And there's not a big enough gap between Will Levis and Mason Rudolph for it to be as much of a talking point as, say, an Indy for a team that is very much in the race in the AFC South.
Well, okay. But if they put Will back in and they spiral again, because yesterday didn't stop like all the things that are wrong with the Titans. It just stopped the bleeding, right?
Yep.
If they spiral, when they make the quarterback change that they are committed to making, this season is no longer, I've said this, I feel like for a couple of weeks now, it's no longer just about the quarterback. It's about the coaching staff too. So I don't know that you can just blanket statement say unchanged when yesterday was very much a clear indication that this coaching staff is desperately trying to win games and that a quarterback change might not necessarily lend itself directly to winning games. In fact, it might harm you based on that person's profile and what you know about how much you can or cannot trust him in critical decisions. Like, think about Will Levis in overtime. If the Titans give up, the Titans defense gives up that touchdown pass to Ramondre Stevenson as time expires to even the game, and Gerard Mayo says, all right, time for overtime. Do you feel better about Mason Rudolph under center? Calm, poise, veteran, experienced? Or Will Levis, who can only get that experience by playing, but may directly impact your ability to hang on, manage a game, and win, to even set yourself up for that game-winning field goal, much less a touchdown drive.
Well, it is unchanged because Brian Callahan just told you it's unchanged.
I know.
But
I think their decision is not the vibe. No, I'm talking about the vibes.
I hear what you're saying. It would be a more interesting conversation if Will Levis were to come in on Sunday and the Titans, for the first time in 3 weeks, are completely unable to move the ball, and we see disastrous turnovers, and there's not enough good to be able to live with the bad, and all of the things we've talked about with Levis this season. If he comes in and the offense craters with him at quarterback, then yeah, it will be a very different conversation next week with us. I don't know if it will be with them and how steadfast Brian Callahan would still be in that case. I have no idea, but you're right. It would change things in terms of our conversation and the vibes with the fan base if that happens in LA on Sunday.
I also, well, let's go to the phone call, 615-737-1045, because we can flesh this out later in the week. We'll take more of your phone calls coming up next. Your thoughts on this, and does winning change the Titans' deadline approach, because the trade deadline is tomorrow. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
It is 12 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone studios. The Titans have their second win after a 20-17 overtime victory over the New England Patriots Sunday at Nissan Stadium. Pats tied the game on the final play of regulation, sending it to overtime. Nick Folk's 25-yard field goal gave the Titans the lead in the extra period, and Amani Hooker sealed it with his second interception of the day. The Titans are 2-6 after the win, the first home win of 2024. Brian Callahan met with the media earlier today. He affirmed the injury losses from Sunday. Center Lloyd Cushenberry out for the season with an Achilles injury, and safety Quandre Diggs also will miss the remainder of the season with a Liz Frank injury. In NFL news today, the New Orleans Saints have fired head coach Dennis Allen after a 7th straight loss Sunday at the Panthers. College football, the Tennessee Vols outscored Kentucky 21-8 in the second half to win 28-18 Saturday. Running back Dylan Sampson's 2 touchdowns brought him to 19 on the year, breaking a program record. Vanderbilt went down to the Plains and won 17-7 over Auburn. They clinched bowl eligibility. The latest AP poll ranked the Vols 7, Vanderbilt 24. The first college football playoff ranking of the year comes out tomorrow night. Tonight, the undefeated Chiefs host the Tampa Bay Bucks on Monday Night Football. Kickoff at 7:15. You can hear Westwood One coverage on The Zone starting at 7. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Play fake. May looking deep, throwing deep. Booty is there, but it's intercepted. Hooker came over to get it. Hooker came over to get it. Took a knee, and it's over. It's over. And the Titans have fought off the New England Patriots. As this fight is stopped with 2:07 left in overtime. Titans 20, Patriots 17.
That is Titans Radio on the call. Welcome into the third hour. That is Coach Dave McGinnis laughing maniacally at the Patriots' downfall. Take some of that. 20-17 in overtime. Amani Hooker, 2 interceptions. They get the job done for the second time this year. Welcome in. Welcome back. We're happy to have you, Lucas, Burt, and me. Until 1 o'clock. Does winning change the Titans' deadline approach? The answer to that is emphatically no. They are still a 2-win football team. That doesn't mean that they can't show you things, and that doesn't mean that they can't go out and win games in a fashion that would give you confidence that this is still the right collection of people, whether that be the coaching staff, the front office, the quarterback. There are still things that can be learned because guess what, kids? It's November the 4th. We have now, or as of tonight, when, the Bucks and the Chiefs play, we will now have officially crossed the halfway point of the NFL season. It has felt like 10,000 years. That's because the football team has been losing. So while you do not submit yourself to that dark, dark night of tanking, you still do have to make decisions that are unemotional and put your team in the best possible position to succeed. The deadline will be at 3 p.m. tomorrow. By that time, here's what I would hope for. I would hope that Arden Key has a new home, that you can recoup something for a guy who's looked infinitely better in the last 2 weeks than I think he has at any point in his Titans career. I would hope, honestly, that Amani Hooker has a new home, because I think that is one of the most viable assets that they have on the Titans roster right now that a contender would be willing to give up legitimate assets for. Quandre Diggs is done for the year. He was one of these expiring contract type of guys that you thought you might be able to move. That is an unfortunate setback for both Quandre Diggs and the Titans, who could have recouped something for his contract at this point. Beyond those two players, like Harold Landry, I think I'm good with keep. If you move one of them, Key is obviously the better option, because you could get out from under the Key contract this year if you needed to, and fair to expect that they would want to. The Titans need to draft an edge rusher with a day 1 or day 2 pick, regardless of who they move, whether it's Harold Landry, Arden Key, or otherwise. This team desperately needs juice as far as the pass rush goes. They have good interior, essential to turn on your microphone. to do. I don't know how you do that after 2 hours of doing radio so far this morning. What would you like to say?
Would Arden Key at this point be more attractive to a team looking for a quick pass rusher solution? We would not have said that 3 or 4 weeks ago. But with how he's playing and the contract being way less to take on than what it would be for Harold Landry, for a team like the Lions, that
Arden Key makes infinitely more sense.
Right. Like the Lions don't need pass rush solutions for the next 4 years or 2 years, however, whatever's left on Landry's contract.
Well, now,
they need it for right now.
Harold has an out at the end of the season that any team could get out from under. But you would have to eat a little money here. And ideally, you would like to just not have a DeAndre Hopkins situation where you have to buy up whatever pick. Now, you may have to buy up whatever pick you were after, depending on what that pick is. And Arden Key does still have a year left on his contract beyond this one. He signed a 3-year deal last offseason. But Arden Key would be the more seamless solution for the Titans and theoretically for any team, including, because it doesn't sound like they've been in contact with Detroit. I don't know if you saw Diana Rossini report that the Cardinals have been calling around.
Monty Ossenfort,
Titans legend, who has built a frisky team out west in the NFC West. Are they now leading the division? The Arizona Cardinals at 500, 4-4.
Let's see. The Rams knocked off the Seahawks in overtime, but yes, the Cardinals are leading the NFC West at 5-4. Everybody else is 4-4, or the Seahawks, who are 4-5.
Yes. So, Cardinals are frisky. Lions are a wagon at this point in time. Multiple teams, though, competing at the top. I mean, the Chiefs just traded with the Patriots, if I'm not mistaken, for Josh Uche, who was acquired to help supplement what they've got on defense. You're going to see contenders start to make moves here. Ravens, Chiefs, Cardinals, however legit you believe the Cardinals to be contenders. Steelers are still looking for wide receiver help ahead of the NFL trade deadline. So there are options here. Winning yesterday changes nothing about the deadline approach, but it does change, or it can start. It can start some level of change about how you feel about your coaching staff and your front office, because they're under the microscope as much as the quarterback is at this point in time. 615-737-1045, how you join the discussion. Let's go to Tony up next.
Hey, good afternoon. I was just trying to figure out what the idea was behind moving these players on the trade deadline, because it seems like to me Titans lately, or the conversation around the Titans has been get a player, trade a valuable player away, and then try to draft somebody to replace them. And my personal opinion, and I think a lot of other people's opinions, the Titans haven't done very well doing that. So in my personal opinion, it just makes me feel like every time you talk about trading a good player, like you mentioned Amani Hooker or Arden Key, or, you know, like DeAndre Hopkins being gone now, you know, Derrick Henry not being re-signed here, you know, all these good players, all the players that could make the Titans better. The conversation when you lose a game or don't do good enough is just get rid of them, and then the fans, you know, want to tank. And I just don't understand that. Unless the Titans are in a salary cap issue to where they need to dump money for some odd reason, which I don't believe that they do, I don't know why you would get rid of your value players, the players that mean something to this team. You mentioned veterans. Those are the veterans. You said Mason Rudolph was a calm, poised veteran quarterback. I don't think the guy started an entire season worth of games, and you can't throw a ball 9 feet in the air to it, you know, a slant route. So that's my opinion.
Oh, we even gave you a little extra time on the clock there, Tony, to try and wrap it up, but we appreciate it. 60 seconds before the Oscar music hits. Here's why. The veteran players that you have on this roster have not been good enough to win of consequence. They are mostly second contract players. Drafting organically is the only way to produce sustainable winning in the NFL. So you're looking to win at value, and the people that were unsuccessful drafting no longer work here. I mean, the reason that they're in the hole is because John Robinson had 3 straight drafts that were, you know, somewhere between disastrous and just not good. Rand Carthon has had, I mean, I don't know what you want to look at this Titans front office as, because Will Levis is a part of the equation there. But J.C. Latham looks like the left tackle of the future. Solid. Peter Skoronski looks like he can play guard for, you know, at least his rookie deal. You're looking to get you're looking to get less mercenary. You went out and bought a bunch of players this year because you had the salary cap space to do so, but also because you had no players on your own roster that were worth retaining. So I understand your point to an extent, but that kind of ignores that, yeah, what you've had here is not good enough. Derrick Henry would not be doing what he's doing in Baltimore here. They just didn't have the necessary infrastructure to make these players successful the way that other places could. But I get the thought process to an extent. How about Bam next?
What's up, my man? Yo, so, man, as a true Titans fan, I'm never going to go about this tanking. I hate that people talk about that, man. That's so lame. But my thing is this. The 2 wins that we have been based off of Mason's back. Now, Will coming back in, he's going to be rusty. He's going to be antsy. He's going to try to be Peter Parker and save the day. And I don't know, man. Because if Mason plays Sunday and we win, it's going to make it hard because he's getting rapport with the receivers. He's getting rapport with, the connections between all those guys. Man, I think you need to ride the hot hand right now. I mean, I understand Will is supposedly this is that, but if they keep winning with Mason, that's a tough one, man. That's a tough one.
Oh, no, I don't disagree. I love the Peter Parker line. I still can't wrap my head around why he's doing the Spider-Man web him up celebration while the other guys are doing like some kind of tennis touchdown.
They're doing like ping pong.
Ping pong. Either way. It's tough. So why don't we dive into that coming up next? Is going back to Will Levis when he's healthy, potentially this week on the road in Los Angeles, the right thing to do? You'll hear from Mason Rudolph. You'll hear from Brian Callahan. More of your phone calls next. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Sun. Now, wait, Bert, they won. This party sucks?
I'm just playing the music that's in your list. That's all I'm doing.
Well, it sucks less than it usually does, even though 2-6 is probably not redeeming. Most people pin the negativity on me. It's a good song anyway. Ryan Hurd, our buddy, putting that out last week. Congratulations to him. Titans, congratulations to them. They get a win. 20-17 over the down tremendous New England Patriots. Giardi is texting me saying they're peppering Gerard Mayo in press conferences about lying about the wind direction and things like that. They're being very aggressive with the Patriots' first time head coach after they suffered defeat at the hands of the then 1-win Tennessee Titans. So now the question becomes, what do you do at quarterback? Bert, can I hear from Brian Callahan on the process that led to Mason Rudolph starting yesterday as opposed to Will Levis?
Yeah, he practiced limited all week. Same process as the week before with Will. Threw more, threw better, felt better at the end of the day. And then he got to the end of Thursday's practice. Didn't quite feel, still felt the fatigue from it a bit. So he decided after feedback from him and Todd, we decided there's probably one more week would be best because when he goes back in, I don't want him coming out for any reason. So I want to make sure he's 100% ready to roll, and I think we're getting real close to that. So ultimately, that was the decision, was just to make sure that he felt just enough in practice. He's a lot better, but just wasn't quite ready to go play, and I want him to be ready to go play fully when it's time to go.
Which, okay, that stands to reason. If you got a quarterback that's dealing with issues in his throwing shoulder, then you want to give him as many opportunities as humanly possible, especially if you trust the guy that's behind him. Mason Rudolph is still the best quarterback on the Titans roster, whether Will Levis plays against the Los Angeles Chargers this coming Sunday or not. But there is an edict that they are going to figure out what they have in Will Levis. That has been derailed by the last 3 weeks where he has not played, and they want to see if, with just more time to sit and learn and practice some level of patience, that he can go out there and just generally make better decisions whenever it is that they toss him back into the lineup. That may not necessarily give them the best chance to win. Again, Mason Rudolph was not exceptional yesterday, but he was solid. 240 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, gets the game-winning drive to set up Nick Folk. It should be Nick Field Goal. All he does is, quickly, you know how nice it is to not have to worry about a Titans kicker? I don't even think about him anymore.
That miss by Joey Sly from 56 yards, first time all season that a field goal has been missed in a Titans game this year.
That's actually crazy.
By Titans or opponents.
So, point being, Nick Folk doing great. But Mason Rudolph gets him in position to get there. Now, you can say that the interception that Rudolph threw was less than ideal, and he's had an interception in every game that he has played, as is Will Levis. So that's not exclusive to one quarterback or the other. This was Mason Rudolph last night in the postgame press conference with us, talking about just how badly this team needed a win.
Just good to lift guys' spirits. We all needed that, and got to keep stacking them, but we're going to enjoy this one.
Might be a complicated answer, but why did you guys need it so bad? It seems like the consensus from everybody is that this was this huge emotional win. Why now did it feel so?
Every win is big in this league, but, we've lost 3 in a row and, at home in front of our fans, just needed to turn the tide and make work a little more uplifting and happy. So it's going to be a good week. Get guys some rest tomorrow and get back at it, Tuesday.
All right, an uplifting and happier work environment with Mason Rudolph. Now, he got blown out by the Bills and the Lions, so let's not act like Mason Rudolph is perfect or infallible here. But I think it's a really tough call to just definitively, the way Brian Callahan said today, say, yeah, we're going to go back to Will as soon as he's 100% ready to go, when the thing that's going to make your work environment more tolerable at 2-6 or 3-6 or whatever this ends up being down the stretch is in the best hands of the backup quarterback, or is best placed in the hands of the backup quarterback.
Again, the goal of the season just hasn't changed. The goal of the season, the point of the season has not budged.
Shouldn't it?
I don't understand why.
They can say one thing and you can say, well, they're saying this. It hasn't changed. Okay, I understand that. I get the messaging. I'm saying, is that the right approach?
Okay, the logic of losing more and putting you further away from playoff contention being more of a reason to stick with Mason Rudolph doesn't make any sense to me. If anything, that is more of a reason to say, okay, you're not going to be in the playoffs anyway. Like, if you're in the thick of the division race or a wild card race, then yes, absolutely.
Which is what the Colts did.
Exactly. We should be having this discussion. Like, okay, how much are we willing to actually sacrifice losses and competitiveness in the name of accelerated development for a guy who hasn't shown anything? That's what they're saying in Indy. But this team's 2-6. This team's nowhere close to the playoffs. So I don't know why now would be the time to go with the guy that gives you the slightly better chance to win.
Because you're trying to inspire the people that you are tasked with overseeing that you can actually do this.
Sure. And if they crater on offense on Sunday, maybe they do that.
An experiment type of situation only goes to saying, no, the white flag is still being waved. No, we actually have given up on trying to be meaningfully competitive this year because we are more interested in effing around and finding out with the guy who kind of put you in the hole. Didn't he directly put them in that 0-3 hole?
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was a huge contributing factor.
Maybe not 0-3. The Packers game, the defense was just
We'll say 0-2, yeah. A huge contributing factor to 0-2. Yep.
So I struggle with, yes, they are saying that, so that's the way that it's going to be. Well, okay, but there's some logic in pushing back on why that it has to be that way. You have inspired people in that building to think that they can win again.
Yeah.
You have that. You're not I mean, Lucas, I know you're rolling your eyes, but like, you and I aren't wired the way that these people are. Okay?
I know,
they live,
I understand.
Breathe, eat, sleep, scouting. Offensive installation, special team. Yeah, I know special team's probably a bad example right now, but you understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have given people in the building, for even as brief as it might be, reason to think that you can do something.
Do what?
I don't know.
Well, okay.
I got a text today from somebody that works over there saying we can win the division. That's
understand
real.
What you're saying. And it's why I think the tanking conversation is not one. It's not one that we are even willing to entertain on this show, right? It's not one we're even willing to entertain because there are people who are literally laying down their livelihoods to win just the next game, whoever it's against. But the big picture objective of the season was just that coming in, and that is not. It doesn't budge because you beat the Patriots to get to 2-6. That doesn't mean things can't change. Right? If Will Levis comes in and this offense is completely ineffective moving the ball, and if he is throwing interceptions and making bad decisions, and it's very, very clear that he is the thing holding them back, then I think we have a completely different discussion on this next week. But just because you are 2-6 does not mean that you suddenly pivot from the big picture objective of the season, which they have been consistent with the entire time. So I don't know why we would stray from it now that they're 2-6. It doesn't change anything in terms of them being any closer to playoff contention. So it wouldn't change the reasoning
because I'm not saying one thing or the other. I'm just saying it's definitively Will Levis when he's healthy. And I'm just simply posing the question. Are you sure? Are you sure that is the approach to take? Because you seem really sure about this. And I'm not willing to just take that sentence and be good with it. I don't think that fans should either. Because we're still talking about proof of context or proof of concept. The Patriots win does not accomplish that, full stop for me. I still need to see that they can do this as a coaching staff.
Yeah.
I have been swayed. I think I am pro-tanking at this point. Pack it up.
Oh, no.
Trade everyone away for scraps.
You said start Trevor Siemian?
Sign the worst players imaginable and tank and give these people what they want. The customer is always right. Isn't that what they say? The customer is always right. Give these people that want to tank what
Who
they
says
want.
That? I don't say that.
And you would never say that.
Not once in my life.
Let these people see what it looks like to see someone actually tank, to actually watch someone go out there, just marauders and assassins, people that don't give a dang about your team. They're playing for a check. Get those people out there. Let them see what it looks like. And then when you stink and you do get a good pick, maybe the second pick, maybe tank and gets you the second pick in the draft, and then you miss on that pick. And then you got to tank again. And then you got to tank again. And then nobody remembers what winning is like. Doesn't that sound like a winter wonderland?
Brother,
sounds
it's been
awesome.
3 years. I don't remember.
So fun.
You know how foreign that win looked to me yesterday just because it's been so bad for so long? And it got worse this year. Like, winning already seems like a foreign concept. I don't think that you have to actively sandbag the season to make winning feel any less weird.
We've got the F&M Bank chat pining to tank for Jackson Dart of Ole Miss. Because he hung 50 on Arkansas over the weekend.
Okay. Let's establish one thing. Can we all collectively, as a show, agree that the YouTube chat cannot be trusted?
Sure.
Okay.
My dad has a
saying.
saying.
In favor because you're the favorite of the YouTube chat. You want to turn heel and say definitively that the YouTube chat cannot be trusted?
I'm watching Dixie N on the F&M Bank chat submit a comment after betraying me on the air. So yeah, of course they can't be trusted.
My dad has a saying, those who don't listen must feel. Everyone has told you, people in the NFL, ex-players, ex-coaches, people that work here, people that know stuff, people that don't know stuff, tanking is dumb. So if you don't listen, you must feel. Just give them the tank. Give it to them. That's what they want. You know when the parents are like, we're not having pizza for dinner. I want pizza. We want pizza. And fine. Have the pizza. Give them the pizza. Let them have candy for breakfast.
Oh, I won't subject myself.
I think the people that want to tank the most, that want nothing more than a 2-15 finish, are the exact same people that will be sitting here screaming for Brian Callahan to be fired because they went 2-15. So yeah, it's not a conversation we're willing to entertain. But
we literally just entertained Bert doing it.
He was doing a thing. He was making a point. The big picture objective of the season is still about Will Levis. That clearly has not changed for the Titans. Clearly it has not changed. I mean, that is the most steadfast thing that Callahan has been on since the beginning, since the jump.
I get it. I'm just saying, should it be? Ray is in Cedar Hill up next.
Yes. I was calling because I really think that Will Levis is very arrogant, very conceited.
Okay.
God, the snowstorm took her out.
Yeah,
Oh,
wow.
no.
I mean, did she just? Wow. Is that a nominee for worst phone line of the year? So she's just that's all she had is that Levis is arrogant and conceited.
Arrogant and conceited.
No.
I think when I talked to her off air, it was the way he acts like Tom Brady when he throws the ball.
Well, he doesn't because Tom Brady doesn't throw egregious interceptions. And well, I mean, I guess there is. Brian Callahan did show Will Levis clips of Tom Brady making similar mistakes. That famously is something that happened.
And I don't think nobody has anybody had an issue with Will Levis as a person, as a human, which was a discussion point coming out.
Oh, you with zero self-awareness. Yes, you.
No, since Will Levis has come out, I really like
since he came out, but before that.
Oh no! Before that was definitely there was negative shade around how Will Levis wasn't. I mean, weren't people reporting that teams were kind of off put by how he handled himself
Don't make
that
this
he was
about
a
other
little
people.
You're doing a thing. I'm trying to have a serious conversation with you. But Levis, honestly, since he's been here,
now he wants to have serious conversations.
Since he's been here, Levis has been. He has said a lot of the right things. He said a lot of the wrong things.
He has said a lot of the wrong things, too.
But not in a way that leads you to say, oh, this guy, he's just the cocky, arrogant guy that people didn't like in meetings before the draft. I think he's done a lot to make you like the guy personally.
He is neither cocky nor arrogant in these settings. He is just, he is a losing quarterback that has a nationally televised commercial series that is not going away anytime soon, even though he hasn't been playing for 3 weeks. Although, I don't know, have the commercials made an appearance lately? Did you see them on College Football Saturday or on NFL Sunday? I wouldn't have seen them on Sunday, given that we're sitting in the press box watching these things. But still, there is something about him that I know Vols fans pounced upon when he talked about playing real football as opposed to what the Tennessee offense was. Or whatever, a pro style, which he should have just said a pro style system and would have saved himself a bunch of headache. Just like Wright saying that it's his decision as to whether he plays or not, and Brian Callahan having to set things straight on Friday, being like, well, no, it's my decision, but his input is valued there because it's not my shoulder that's hurting. He just has these slip ups every once in a while that makes it easy to go back and hammer him afterwards.
Yeah, sure. But I think there was some negative discussion about him around the draft. In terms of his arrogance and his ego that Ray, the caller, just articulated, I don't think we've seen any of that since he got here.
Couldn't call anything about that call articulate when we couldn't hear half of it through the snowstorm, but that's neither here nor there.
He's been anything but arrogant and egotistical in front of the podium, right?
He's been pretty damn good as far as
He said a lot of the wrong things.
Like, I wouldn't wish his circumstance on anybody.
Yeah.
I do not wish the emotional turmoil that this year has been for him on anybody. And he has handled it about as well as could be asked of him. Doesn't mean that justifies the way that he plays or the decisions that he's made, but arrogance and, what was the other word that she used? Arrogant and what? I couldn't hear.
I mean, we got the point.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's been a tough year for Levis on the field and off the field, slipping up, saying we had a bad practice today, right? But arrogance is not.
If you want to accuse Will Levis of anything, it's being wound super tight. That's about it. Let's go to Corey in Hendersonville.
Hey, guys, thank you very much for the call. First of all, when Bert was describing a team that was tanking, I just immediately thought of the Carolina Panthers, but they did get a win over the Saints this weekend, so I can't really say too much about that. But what I did want to get into is that I feel like at this point, the season is not over. You still got 9 games left. Mathematically, you have a chance to still run the table, even though, the schedule isn't terrible, but you do still have the Commanders and the Vikings left on your schedule. But plus 5 out of 6 games are still against divisional opponents. Like, for us to sit here and say, we should be trading away our best players, like, mathematically, there's still a chance that we can make the playoffs, and, by winning the division. I don't know why we're so keen on, trying to get rid of players like Arden Key and whatnot when we still have a chance. The other thing I wanted to look at was, why are we going to go back to Levis when Rudolph gives us the best chance to win? We don't owe Levis anything, and as far as Levis is concerned, he's a rookie on, a rookie deal. You don't have anything invested in him other than a second-round pick. So,
Corey, I don't disagree with the second point, though. I think
playoffs.
You just had to fit that one in there, didn't you? You proud of yourself?
Talk about it. Playoffs.
It does seem far-fetched, but again, I will tell you that winning yesterday inspires people in that building to think that it's possible. I don't, while I'm more on the pessimistic side, just generally, I don't want to discourage them from thinking that they have no business winning football games if they feel like they can build upon what's been out there, which is why the Levis-Rudolph thing feels more complicated than they're making it. They're making it less complicated. They're saying, no. When things change or when he's healthy, we'll go back to him. And I do just think that it shouldn't be as cut and dry as they're trying to make it at this point for exactly the reason that the caller just said. Now, about the trade deadline, you're just playing percentage chance, right? You've got to set yourself up for future success while still maintaining competitiveness. So you can still try and be competitive. Because, was Arden Key that big a difference maker before the last 2 weeks?
Was Arden Key
that big of a difference maker defensively before the last 2 weeks?
No, again, this is the best 3-game stretch of his NFL career. 4 sacks in 3 games.
Which, to me, indicates that while, and Arden has said this, he's not been shy about it. He said, what you put on tape is your resume. That resume is not just for people here. It's for people anywhere who are looking to acquire the services of Arden Key. Arden Key is very aware of that.
Yeah, we don't have to have a repeat conversation that players don't tank. They don't.
Correct.
They're playing for a job here or elsewhere.
Henry Schlotman, I believe is the name on YouTube, says, Buck, are you saying, I was scared that might be a Dixie type of situation. I had to slow down for a second. Says, Buck, are you saying that even now there are people in the building that think they can make the playoffs? Do they drug test within the organization? Here is a text that I literally got from somebody within the organization, okay? They think that there's a chance that they can be competitive in the division for exactly the reason the caller just laid out. They have 5 more games in the division to play. The division is not done. Houston just lost. Indianapolis just lost. Jacksonville is miserable. They are now in last place because they are 2-7.
And that's the mindset they have.
And it's not just one person. There are other people who are inspired by this. I'm just citing an example of somebody who laid out a case that I will not read on air of how they could make the playoffs because I do think that's a bit far-fetched.
It's the mindset they have because it's the mindset they have to have, right? Like the Panthers.
No, nobody's making them. But the reason why these people are in these jobs is because they have that belief. That's why they go about doing
nobody's
it. Nobody's
making us come to work, and nobody's putting a gun to our head and say, go to work and talk into a microphone, but we're doing it, right? Because it's our jobs and we like what we do and we want to have success.
Yeah, that's different.
Like, yeah, of course they have that mindset because they have to. That's what they do.
I feel like somebody literally held a weapon to your head and said, you're going to have to talk about Mason Rudolph and Will Levis again today.
The Panthers can have 3 wins in week 14 and be mathematically eliminated, and they're going to come out and play in week 15 like their life depends on it, right? Because a lot of guys will be on expiring contracts. They're going to want to play next year. Like, I really hope we don't have to sit here and have this conversation for the rest of the year, just reminding people, hey, players want to win games, no matter what your record is. They want to win games. They're going to do everything in their humanly power to win the next game. Mm-hmm. That's how this works.
But it's not just about the players. It's about everybody involved in that organization. Organizational problems lead to losing as much as they do to winning. 615-737-1045. Let's go to Steve in Goodlettsville next.
Hey, guys. 2 questions. Number one, everybody's on Levis. Well, it's hard to throw a pass when you spend most of your life looking at the sky. And after you've been hit 50 times in 1 year, it's hard probably to look anywhere other than straight up.
Sure.
Number 2, why do y'all not mention the special teams coach? He's got you killed the last 3 games and has done nothing to change it. I know we got the slowest special teams in the country. Titans always do have. But what changes has he made? I'm not against the guy. I know he wants to win too, but it ain't showing.
Oh, no, I'm with that. No, we haven't gotten to it. It was asked last night. We touched on it a little bit, certainly the penalty to start the game, though that's, now being refuted as to whether it should be a penalty or not. The return thing was not great. Jaquan Jackson was not great yesterday. Put the ball on the turf in a critical spot. He's very, very fortunate that he recovered his own fumble, as is Mason Rudolph, with that fumbled snap exchange in overtime. It's just we have a long week to talk about all of these things, and it's going to be sussed out throughout the course of the week. And Colt Anderson will speak again and will be asked about why his special teams unit is not even moderately improved. They just were not outright disastrous yesterday. Last call for phone calls. If you got them, I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. By the way, I saw some updates from Hattie B's. I know you got excited about said updates from Hattie B's. Would you like to tell people what is now on offer? Thanksgiving right around the corner. Hattie B's can even do turkey. Hot turkey from Hattie B's. That sounds like a great way to spice up.
I have 4 words. Cheesy hot chicken dip.
Woo! Do you have to count those out first?
Whole fried turkey, sliced turkey breast, cheesy hot chicken dip, whipped potatoes, cranberry sauce, and giblet gravy, carrot souffle, desserts, so much more. Go to HattieB.com for your Thanksgiving solutions. Again, cheesy hot chicken dip.
They also have breakfast at the factory at Franklin location as well as the airport location. Always good to get a little hot chicken biscuit from Hattie B's at BNA. I believe that's Terminal C, if I'm not mistaken, but you might fact check me on that. We have college basketball is returning to our lives here in the very near future this week. As a matter of fact,
tonight.
The
the very near future this week was a long way to say tonight. Tonight there was college basketball.
I had to confirm that Belmont was in fact playing tonight.
Tennessee, number 12 preseason team, hosting Gardner-Webb tonight at 6.
I did not get to talk the requisite amount of smack for Indiana beating Tennessee in an exhibition basketball game.
You didn't bring it up once? I was shocked.
There was a lot going on. We had the Lions game. I was too busy.
That's never prevented you from talking about yourself. I was very surprised.
On the way there, could you tell me what Indiana is ranked?
In the AP Top 25 for basketball?
Yes. First time you could actually ask that question.
17?
Correct. Wow. Look at you.
Yeah.
Did you see where they're ranked in the latest AP football poll, which doesn't matter because college football playoff rankings come out tomorrow?
Oh, but it does because my team is 8th.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me very happy to be able to talk nonsense to Lucas for a team that I have zero emotional investment in and I'm really just using to kind of spite him. It makes me happy, though, that my university decided that they were going to be good at football this year and your university is still trying to figure out how to score points at the first half.
Wait, I'm missing something here. Did Notre Dame get ranked this week?
No.
Yeah, there's no way they would be 8.
No.
Yeah, you think you're just being facetious. I see it now.
No, I'm gonna wear. Good joke. I'm gonna wear my Sig Signetti shirt in here. I bought one the other day. I'm all in. But this is how you grow a fan base. You win. Like you get people to care. Nobody. You went to, was it the Combine with me a couple of years ago? Maybe it was the Titans Colts game where you were still traveling with Titans Radio. You went out to eat with me and a group of my Indiana alum friends. There was an Indiana football game on in real time.
They're playing Nebraska, yeah.
How many people at that table? There was probably 12 to 15 individuals, all dressed in Indiana gear. How many of them were looking at the Indiana?
Nobody was engaged in the game whatsoever. So, yeah, I'm paying Indiana football fans no mind for that reason. I was looking around in shock. I said, we came out to a bar. Everybody's in their Indiana gear. There's a big game. They're playing Nebraska tonight. Nobody cared at all about the game. It was like a foreign country to me. I did not understand anything that I was seeing.
Also, have you seen this movement that's going on in Indiana? Cigs for Sig.
Yeah, Sig Signetti.
Well, no, everyone is smoking cigs after the game for Sig. I've never wanted to transfer to a school more in my entire life.
My 21-year-old senior at Indiana sister better not be smoking cigarettes.
Well, she's 21, so she can do whatever the hell she wants to.
That's true.
Other than smoke cigarettes. Don't do that. Polls?
Presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. How did you feel about the Titans' win yesterday? 67.7% say they are happy about the win. 32.3% say they are sad about draft position.
Yeah, that evened out a little bit. Or I guess not evened out. It pulled away in the proper direction a little bit. But if you're sad about draft position today, I'm not going to call you a loser, but I'm going to say that you are displaying the behavior of a loser and that you should reevaluate your priorities when it comes to football.
What was your reaction to Brian Callahan's emotional press conference? Robert says, I'm good with it. He's passionate. He expected a very different outcome this season. V-Love says, this bleep means something to me too.
Yeah.
David says it just shows he cares. Taylor says it was awesome. Made me realize we are too quick to dehumanize coaches and players. Palm Peace on Twitter says, win like you've been there before. I get the amount of stress and pressure they're under, but still wasn't a great win, he says.
No, by the way, I think all of those comments are fair. Like, I think it does mean something to him. You like to see that emotion. It means less at 2-6. Now he has to, he has to buck up and do it again. Like, he has to go to Los Angeles and try and win a football game. They have to stack him.
It's still real to me, damn it.
What was the most stressful part of the Titans win versus the Patriots? Dylan says the overtime fumble on the snap. Jack says definitely the last play, the game-tying touchdown. Jim says knowing that somehow, some way, the Pats were going to score on that last drive.
I mean, it was wild. Corey Curtis of WKRN News 2 is going to join us in studio tomorrow. He literally manifested that Patriots score. He goes, they're going to give up a touchdown here. You don't believe me, but they're going to do it. I've been here for 20 years. I've watched this game before.
Robert, what does that remind you of? In Neyland Stadium on Saturday?
Oh, my goodness. These guys that sat behind us. Hey, they better quit running that RPO. The son goes, I can't keep watching this team, Daddy. I can't keep watching this 7-1 team.
It would be 2nd and 3 or something on the 38. Oh, they're just going to run it up the middle again. Dylan Sampson up the middle, 8 yards, first down. Everything they said, they would scream out something upset about what was going to happen, their prediction, and the opposite thing would happen. I mean, for 4 hours, it was remarkable.
That's fairly exhausting. I'm surprised that either of you were sober enough to remember it.
Bits and pieces. My favorite part was a third down. Tennessee was happy to get off the field. There was a hold. No, they got off the field. It's okay.
Didn't matter. They would have declined it. Was Sunday at Nissan Stadium fun? 55.7% say yes. Yes, it was. Football is fun, unlike for Buck, who is miserable at football.
What do you mean? I was fine today.
You just seem to be having a bad time. I
have better energy than you did today. Are you kidding me?
I feel like $1 million. Those are the polls.
This man's desperately trying to drag me into fun football talk. Talk about Tennessee. Bert was there, damn it. Talk about it. We will tomorrow. Primetime tonight. We'll talk more about what this team can do moving forward. Trade deadline right around the corner. Corey Curtis in studio tomorrow. See you guys.